welcome everybody. This is Beer Guys Radio. It's a pleasure to have you here with us to enjoy some brews, some conversation, some news, all that good stuff. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how are you doing?
I am here.
You're here.
Yes, I am currently here.
I am here.
I am surrounded by things that are breaking. My coffee pot is giving up the ghost, and so I ordered an expensive new coffee pot, and my keyboard has just like moments ago decided to quit transmitting signals to my machine. So
fun.
I have to use the built-in keyboard in my laptop that's covered
terrible.
with stuff like a peasant. It's awful.
It's awful. And I know we've got some coffee nerds that listen here. So Brian has a Technivore Mocha Master on the way.
A
nerdy coffee pot there.
It should be coming. I think I'm getting it as we're recording it tomorrow. So, which doesn't matter to anybody because you won't be at my house drinking my coffee anyway. But
no,
it's going to be. Well, maybe.
Right.
Actually, now I'm a little worried.
Show up for more than coffee.
I have a process that's built around this nearly 20-year-old coffee pot that I know is not a great coffee pot, but this time I went and checked around and the brewers that maintain the right temperature for the right duration, that allow the right extraction of stuff. I'm like, oh my goodness, I know this old machine I have was not doing any of these things. So I am probably going to blow the roof off the top of my head a few times making some coffee, but it's going to be amazing. Like I'll be able to bloom my coffee without actually breaking the pot. So it's going to be pretty neat.
For those that don't know this about Brian, when it comes to things like cooking or preparing or making coffee, he's very, very, very methodical. I remember one time he messaged me kind of excitedly that he had made, I believe it was a bacon and tomato sandwich or something, whatever the British thing was. But he talked about following this recipe to make a sandwich. I'm like, dude, you needed the recipe to make a sandwich? He's like, well, there's a specific way you toast it and this and that. And we've talked about cooking before, and they're like, cook until tender over medium heat. He's like, what the heck is medium heat? Give me a temperature. Give me a time. Don't tell me this till tender stuff. So that's Brian's struggle with cooking, is he can't handle the inexactness of some of it. Yeah.
I need data. I need measurements, and I understand that data, like, all right, I'm X feet above sea level, so my data is going to be a little different than yours, but here's where I start at. I'm like, cool, I will take your data and use that to do my thing. And I have numbers. I like grams of coffee and rough. I'm a little loosey goosey with the water amounts. So I'll admit I don't actually weigh the water. I've thought about it, but I'm like, I eyeball that and I'm pretty accurate with that. But everything else pretty well measured. So yeah, I want that. Like when we were brewing, we were looking at alpha acids, beta acids. The exact weight of the grain. We had a little gapper for the mill for making sure our grain was properly ground. Mm-hmm. Like it was numbers, it was science. We did water chemistry, all that stuff. I'm like, I'm just taking that same approach to that and just applying it to everything else in life. Apparently in cooking, people just like, I don't know, they're just like, yeah, you throw this into it. How much? I don't know. I use my hand and just whatever feels right.
That's it.
On a given day, I'm like, I can't. I mean, I can, but I'm not going to waste my time on it. Like, if it's great, how would I ever do it again? And I've run into that where like, oh my God, this is great. Somebody makes something, and then next time you make it, they make it. It's like, oh, it's not as good as the last time. Why? Who knows? Oh, like this one's way saltier. Why? I'm like, because nobody's measuring anything. I mean, they are, but not really. So sorry, that's awesome. My soapbox. I want numbers. I want data.
I love the stress that causes you. Like you can even hear the tone in your voice that it's just like it doesn't make sense to you. It seems wrong to you. Yeah. Good stuff.
It just seems terrible.
Nate, how are you doing? What are your thoughts on cooking?
I don't do it nearly as often as I probably ought to.
Yeah.
But it is frustrating when they say like season to your heart, and it's just I usually just season to taste. So if I add salt to it and it's a little too salty, then I add a little bit more like stock or water or whatever.
Right.
To try and even it out.
Yeah.
I know that is the counter to what Brian is comfortable with, and it does suck. Like what even is medium heat and to tender? You're like, my wrists, my forearms are going to get tired just stirring or flipping it or whatever.
You said season to your heart. What if I'm naturally salty? I'm salty as the day is
Then
long.
season
Like everything is going to be super salty. So that's no good.
See, guys, I like to cook and I'm totally okay with it because so here's my philosophy. Like if I want to cook a dish that I haven't cooked before, I'll go look up 5 highly rated recipes and I'll get the foundation of what goes on in this thing. That's and then I'll just head to the kitchen and get the core ingredients. But if I'm looking in the spice rack and I'm like, oh man, that you know what, this would be good with a little bit of ginger, or something like that, then you know what, there's a little bit of ginger going in there. And like you said, if it's a little too salty, maybe a little more, a little more tomato sauce or a little more stock or what have you, pick it up some. Or, like acidity, Brian, here's the thing. If you're doing something with tomatoes and it's got too much acidity, you can put your pinch of sugar in there. You don't have to put a lot, but it counteracts the acidity. You're not necessarily looking for sweetness, just lowering the acidity. And you just got to play it by ear, man. You just got to let your salty heart lead you, Brian.
You don't grab a pH meter to check the
no time for that, man.
Okay.
No time for that. I've got that stuff on medium heat. It'll burn if I don't if I don't get to
I know exactly what temperature that is.
Instead of playing it by ear, I think you're supposed to play it by tongue.
No, that's not true. That's not, some people do that. That's some common misconception, Nate. Very common misconception. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, guys, getting into things, we went to another beer festival last weekend, the Georgia Craft Brewers Fest, which is put on by the Georgia Craft Brewers Guild and all Georgia beers. It's a celebration of our local beer scene here. There were a couple new breweries that I hadn't got to try and checked it out. It was here in my neck of the woods here in Woodstock, Georgia, where I live. And we've got a very nice open green space there. It's an initiative that's seriously been 20 years in the making for trails and parks and all this stuff. And the brewery set up down there very near to Reformation Brewery that we have in downtown Woodstock. And overall, a good time. My take on it, good time. Some really great beers there. One thing that I'm not a fan of, and I'll share this with the guild too, I don't like the tent. They had a big tent with most of the brewers in it, and it really just packs a lot of humans into one space. So I think a little more open format there would be better. And it was hot Saturday. It was toasty out there, but beers that I liked, one from the Lost Druid, that was actually one of the best in show, called the Copper and the Hopper Saison. That was a good one. There is a local radio station here called 99X. If you're in the Atlanta area, you know the significance of that. If not, this was our alt rock station back in the late 90s, early 2000s that had a cult following. Still people that talk about it. And they came back on the air maybe 2-3 years ago now, and still playing, the kind of old school alternative classics there, but really big following. And they brewed with Mutation Brewing. They did a beer that's a really nice fresh beer there. And so those are a couple that I enjoyed on the
I think that was called like the 99 experience
exclusive
or exclusive, maybe 99. Experience or I
don't remember, but it was tasty.
Anyway, pretty good. I really like the Piedmont Brewing and the Birds Fly South. They're calling it a collaboration, but I think it's part of it was just Piedmont got some fooders from Birds Fly South, and it's called Unwind Yourself. It was in green bottles, and it's a farmhouse Brett ale, and that's the kind of beer I'm looking for. I want to find special, fun things like that at these beer festivals. I agree with you. I think the tent forced people in. It forced everything to be hot. It made it kind of dark, and it was kind of weird. It was hard to get into, so like really restricted access to it. That might be part of the intent to just keep people from wandering in when they shouldn't have. But I preferred there were the two sections. There was a tent area, which had most of the stuff going on, but the big open area up top. The big open area up top was a lot more fun to hang out in, I found.
Yeah.
And there weren't nearly as many breweries. And unfortunately, our friends from Napier Roots, I ran into them. They were down in the tent. But like I didn't see them as often because I wasn't going to hang out in the tent as much. It was loud. It was crowded. All the beer was there, yes, but that green space is really enjoyable. It's like nice drinking out in that green space, and that was what I really enjoyed.
It was nice. And Beer Fest attendees, here is some advice for. It's not advice. It's a demand. I demand this of you at a Beer Fest. Get your beer and get out of the way. And
please,
get out of the way is not stand in the middle. I mean, seriously, we're in this tent with maybe 10 feet across from one booth to the next one, and people would just hang out there dead center, like groups of 3 or 4, and have a conversation. Get your beer and get out of the way, y'all. We're all trying to have a good time. Or you know what? Step off to the side. We don't want to be antisocial here. Step off to the side to talk to your friends or to talk to the brewer. Let them continue pouring beers if you got a couple questions. But don't stand there in front of the tap and chat for 5 minutes. There are 310 people behind you that want a beer.
Yeah, the one issue with the tent too is there was a nice open area out the backside of the tent, but nobody was going out there because the tent
you had to get all the way through the tent to get there.
Yeah. If it had spread out, if they'd spread the place out over it, I know people would have gotten a lot more sun, but there would have been a lot more open area for people to socialize with. And that was one of the things I did like about the Atlantic Station location where they did it before. Everything, there was more sun, but it was spread out more.
It was open.
It wasn't as nice a place to be, but the actual being spread out, having the room to move around, mill around, and just the air moving was quite nice. So I'm hoping that they make adjustments to that.
Right. And I should say, it sounds like we've probably talked more saltiness about the fest and that's not a fair assessment. It was a good festival, good people there, good beers. The area that it's in is gorgeous. Our downtown area, to pat my own town on its back, it is nice. It's a good place to hang out, parks and benches and trails and all kinds of stuff. And we met interesting people there.
We did. Yes.
Shout out to the girl from UGA who was colorful. So she got very angry at the band. I believe she was standing in front of the stage, like shouting at the band to play Grateful Dead cover songs. And they're just trying to play their stuff and go on there. And so Brian and I had a fan club there. We got a fan club. Lady came up and she pauses and she's got wide eyes like a kid in a candy store. And she's like, I like big men and you two are gorgeous. And so
we are confirmed hot.
And this is true. And she sat there for probably a good 5 minutes telling us she talked about Brian's beard and just everything there. So that was entertaining. It's always good to get a little ego bump every now and then.
Oh yeah.
But y'all make a note of that. Brian and I are, I think, effing gorgeous, according to her. So just in case y'all were not aware, now you are. Now you know what's important.
You have been informed.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Nate, what were your favorite beers at the fest?
So in addition, Brian, I really did enjoy that Birch by South Piedmont collab, the Unwind Yourself. But one of the beers I really enjoyed from Wrecking Bar Brew Pub was their Tampa Timeshare Grapefruit Basil Goes. And that was something really light, refreshing to start off the festival with. And then as I braved the tent from Crooked Culture Brewing, this one slaps as a triple New England hazy IPA. This one was just a really nice, a little on the heavier side for how hot it was and how sunny it was, but it was a really nice IPA to enjoy. And yes, I will stand or sit as witness that the other two boys were described as being effing hot.
Yeah. How about it, man? How about it?
Brian had his beard tugged by the UGA girl.
I did.
She was telling him to like cut it in a weird way or something.
Yeah, she liked to grab it and twist it off the side. She wanted it a little more cropped in. I've seen what that looks like, before. And I'm not going to do it.
Not for you. Not for you. What is the name? And I know it because I've had it many times. The barley wine from Wrecking Bar.
Oh, Sprinkler Head? Was it Old Sprinkler Head?
Old Sprinkler Head. So that was another one of my favorites. I forgot that. A little, not exactly the weather for barley wines, but having a little taster cup of it, that worked out well.
I want to say that every time we have the Nappy Roots beer, it gets better. Like the mango habanero was great. I love seeing the guys. I wasn't in the tent very often. It was kind of like I happened to see them. I got a few beers. We had that and the J Kolsch, which I think is a jalapeno Kolsch. They're dialing it in. I love that they
are.
their fixation on peppers and beer, nobody else is doing that, and they're great beers. I encourage you to get them, and actually really good when it's hot.
You keep
outside.
saying
I really like
Nappy Roots because we know those guys, but Atlantucky Brewing. We should clarify that. That's Atlantucky Brewing. If you're in Atlanta, they're down not far from the Bends. Go check them out. Cool tap room there, and they really are. I agree 110%, Brian. Every time we try those, each batch is a little better. So they're they're not just setting on what they've got there and saying this is good enough or whatever. They continue to tweak, and try and make them better, and they're just straight good now. That's it.
Yeah, they're great.
Plain and simple.
I could drink a lot of that. In that weather, it was perfect for it. So they knew the environment. They knew what their audience was. So it was great.
And kind of exciting that a few saisons were featured again.
Yes,
that seems like we're taking a little trip back in time there.
I like it, and one of them was the best in show, I believe.
Yeah.
They got I think that was the award they got. Like, I love seeing that. I love that. A beer festival brought out a lot of people, and the people enjoyed saisons. That's
good stuff, man. Yeah,
we're doing well here. We're doing well.
Well, Brian, let's move on to our beers of the week. What are you getting into this week?
Yeah, my pregame was Bitburger's Premium Pilsner because it's the nectar of the gods, and I don't need to have a reason to drink it, but I think it was like German Beer Day this week, so one of the days this week, so that was reason enough for me to drink that. I probably would have had it anyway, but I'm gonna say German Beer Day had something to do with it. And right now, I'm getting into a collaboration between Parish, yet another Parish beer I'm drinking, and North Park Beer Company, which I don't know a lot about, but it's called Ghost Foo, and it's a West Coast double IPA with Simcoe Dynaboost, dry hop with Citra, Mosaic, and Amarillo. And it's drinking really nicely. I'm enjoying this. And just to perk me up a little later, probably when we talk to the Patreon folks, it'll be Creature Comforts Drip Decibels, which is a coffee stout. And I do love me a coffee stout. I like anything. Coffee in any form and in any beer, basically. So I'm down for that. So that's what I am getting into this week.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Nate, how about you?
So starting off, I actually have a pregame beer tonight. I enjoyed a can of Something Egger Special Riwaka from Finbeck Brewing, which is a New England IPA with Riwaka hops. Did that as I was setting up for the show tonight. And then currently in my glass from the Brewing Project, I have Chump Chump, which is a raspberry cheesecake pastry sour. It's got lactose, it's got whole raspberries in it, and a whole bunch of just like real thick. Definitely got the raspberry cheesecake down pat on this beer. Beer?
It's thick, huh?
This beer is thick.
It's thick and it drinks like they actually put raspberries in it. So thick with
sipping your cheesecake,
fruit,
man.
Mm-hmm.
The old liquid dessert. You gotta love it. Gotta love it. Well, guys, I am I'm sipping a QT Quitting Time, man. Just a drinking beer for me today. Something pretty basic, pretty simple. Your guys' beers of the week are always more interesting than mine. But that's it, man. Just a QT Quitting Time, which is your basic drinking beer. It does the job. And this is actually pretty solid, man. So that's I think a lot of times these collaboration or branded beers for a store, people don't have much in the way of expectations from them, but this one delivers pretty good. It is. I
like that one,
beer, man. Yeah,
I wish I weren't out.
No argument.
Yeah, if was it Kansas City? I wish
Oklahoma.
That it was
Oklahoma, like Tulsa area or Oklahoma.
Oh, Tulsa, that's what it was. Yeah, I really wish that was more widely available. I like that beer. They did really good work with it, and I would drink it more often were it more widely available. So yes,
yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Brian, moving into some of our stories, we talked last week that some of the beer distributors were looking to strike that may impact New York City getting their beer, and we have an update on that.
Yeah. So they were striking, and that could have had bars and restaurants running dry in New York City, but the beer delivery workers for Manhattan Beer and Beverage Distributors are responsible for many of the popular beers. You know what? Oh, okay. Yes, I'm sorry. I was looking at the last week's story, but yes, they weren't happy with the movements made by their company to change the retirement plan, and that was what they were striking about. But the good news is this week we've learned that Manhattan Beer and the union have reached an agreement, and the strike is over. So judging by the language used by the union representative, it sounds like they got at least part of the $1.50 an hour. They were looking for to be contributed to the existing retirement plan. So I guess things are cool now. So there will be no need for Manhattanites to hoard their favorite beers or resort to bringing their own from home. Like, that would be terrible. Could you imagine people bringing coolers of beer into like fancy New York restaurants? That'd be funny.
That's
like, we're out of beer. Bring your own.
We brought our own beer to a restaurant before, so
that's true.
Once,
we did
at least one. Well, we have a couple BYOB places here that are like, yeah, we don't serve alcohol, but you can bring your own. But we actually went to a fancy steakhouse one time.
Yes,
and we just happened to have a beer cooler with us that had a bomber bottle, back when bomber bottles were cool, of Founder's Frangelic Mountain Brown.
Yes.
And I think we asked him as we were getting valet parked at the steakhouse, we're like, hey, do you guys have bottle service? They're like, yeah, absolutely. So we went in there and they said, would you like ice? We said, like, yeah, sure. And they're like, what kind of glasses do you need, red or white?
Wow.
And we're like, well, you know what? I think for this a red glass would probably be better. So yeah, so we iced down our beer to eat with our steaks and drank it out of red wine glasses because that's what
fancy
we had to do. And actually, it went extremely well with a steak dinner.
That is such a beautiful beer. If they released it again, I would buy up as much as I can. I love that. And back in the day, there was something special about those 750s that they did. I love those.
Was that a 750 or was that the bomber? I thought it was like the 22 ounce bomber.
I think that was a proper 750.
Okay.
It was a little thicker, and it had the same cap, but it was substantial, and it was one of those things where I bought up as many as I could, but even doing that, I ran out of them sooner than I'd like. It's one of those things with breweries, like you have an absolute hit. I don't know why you don't make more of it, and maybe it was just that Brian's the only one that really loves this, and everybody else is kind of like okay with it, but. It didn't sit on shelves. I just got to say that. So I don't know.
Just because a beer is loved by a certain group doesn't mean it's overall successful for the brewery.
True.
That's
true. Yeah.
Our Atlanta story is Exodus Porter at Sweetwater. It won a medal at GABF and was promptly canceled. Not long after that. So, but Brian, some big news this week. With all the closures that we hear, it's good to hear when breweries expand. And I have not heard a lot out of this brewery in a few years, and that may be me just missing it, but they were super popular 7, 8, 10 years ago. I think somewhere in there.
Probably, but,
in that 50-50 Brewing, and they do a line Eclipse, and that was in bombers. I do recall that. They did the 22 ounce bombers, but they were very expensive, $40-$50 or so for a bomber bottle of one of those, but they were generally really good. And so they sold, but they just announced that they've got a major expansion plan.
Yeah, we learned that after nearly 2 decades, and I was going to tease us, making it sound like they were going out of business. They're doing the opposite. They're undertaking a major expansion, which is something that's kind of unheard of a little bit in the industry right now. But, another thing that makes it surprising is we've heard this kind of beer that you've been talking about. That's what they're best known for making, and they're still making it. Big barrel-aged stouts and large format glass bottles. And I believe there's still large format glass bottles with the wax tip.
All right.
People have been saying that stuff doesn't sell. We've had breweries go out of business where that was their specialty. Well, I guess it seems like they're selling after all. And I don't know if maybe it's that, or maybe it's their other core lineup. They do have other beers that they're making. But anyway, the expansion will include a new flagship pub and tap room in downtown Truckee. I believe that's in Colorado. Additionally, they will be opening these new social clubs, which are pilot breweries, pilot brewing facilities. I guess that's part of it. They're more social. Like they have pilot brewing facilities. I think they're tap rooms. They're planned for Reno, Nevada, and Mammoth Lakes, California. The expansion also involves increased brewing capacity and wider distribution, which is stuff you don't hear people talking about a lot these days. And the company intends to expand into cutting-edge hospitality models and new production product lines. So we have heard about people getting more hospitality focused because tap rooms are big. People close down brewing facilities but keep the tap rooms open. So that's definitely the right direction to go right now. Product lines, that's interesting. I have no idea what they might be getting into, but I'm wondering if it's outside of beer perhaps that they're getting into. There's no
I wondered. I tell you what, man. I just don't know many people going after those big stouts and those big formats like that. So I have to feel like they must have. And again, I don't know. I haven't heard much of them lately, but they must have expanded and they've got to have some more drinkable beers. I would think. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I'm missing out here. But Brian, for your information and the information of our listeners, Truckee is in California.
Oh, is that Truckee's in California?
It's north of Tahoe area. So that is where they are. So they're in Truckee. I don't know why. Truckee, I assume, is away. Truckee or Truckee. I want to make sure I put the emphasis on the right syllable.
Yes, very important. I don't know why I was thinking Colorado. That's entirely too far away, isn't it? Yeah. My geography not so good right now. So they do have a core lineup, and I looked into it. They have a number of different lagers, pilsners, and some other stuff. They've got some IPAs. They've got some other stuff. I've never seen any of those other ones, though. I think that it's possible they sent some to us when we had them on the show back in 2020. I don't recall what we had, but I was looking at the show notes. I know we did have at least one Eclipse from 50-50.
Yeah,
we got into.
They sent us some.
It's because that's what we know them for. But
so Tyler is telling us here in chat. I know Tyler is from California. That there's no long E on Truckee. So is it just Trucka, California? They need to drop one of those E's and give me a little accent.
How about Truckoo? Is it Truckoo?
I don't think that's. I'm almost sure that's not right. I'm almost sure that's not right.
That's probably not it. Anyway, they're doing all of this this expansion with the help of a crowdfunding campaign hosted by Startup Engine. And before you say, "Oh, another one of those," but this seems different to me. I looked into it a little bit. Unlike other crowdfunding websites you've seen, and we've all seen over the years a lot of, this one appears to offer you equity for your money when you contribute to the crowdfunding platform. If you'd like more information about investing in the expansion, visit startengine.com/offering/50-50 brewing. And I just want to point out, this is not financial advice. I have no idea if you should invest money in this or not invest money in it. I don't know what you're doing with your money. I assume it's all going towards beer. But if you're throwing it away on beer anyway, maybe throw a little over here. Yeah, maybe it'll work out for you. But like I said, we did have 50-50 on the show back in 2020, episode 215. So if you want to know more about them, go check that out. And maybe they'll give you an idea as to whether or not you want to throw some money at this.
Yeah, I think in this day and age, if you're investing in a crowdsourcing for a brewery, it's because you have a passion for that brewery.
Yeah.
And that's something I have advised people. Now it sounds like they're doing the expansion either way, that they've got that. And this is an opportunity, unfortunately we've seen a few breweries that they get 1.5 feet in the grave and they're like, you know what? Time to launch a Kickstarter. And just so everyone knows, don't give to those, y'all. I don't care how much you love your brewery, but if they're like, hey, we've got to close the doors. We just sold our cat and our dog and all of our cars and we're walking to work. But with your help and this $5,000, we can save the brewery. They can't. You're just going to be out. And brewers, we love you, but don't do that to your fans, because you're going to have people that are absolutely passionate about your brewery and they want to give. But as well as they do that Kickstarter is not going to save your brewery. And it's just going to take money from your fans who may spend it at another brewery. So wish your neighbors well.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Yeah. If it's a crowdfunding to stay alive and keep going, that's a different thing. This is an expansion. It's going well. Yeah. We have ideas. This is interesting. This has potential. Maybe, again, not financial advice. So you don't see a lot of this come along. And I'm assuming this isn't going to be the same thing as equity for punks from Brewdog, which people invested into that. I don't know what they even own. I don't know if they even get free beer out of that, but there's a lot of people who spent a lot of money on Brewdog. And I don't think that worked out too well for them.
Grifters are going to grift, Brian. That's what I've heard. So
indeed,
grifting on there. Well, Brian, before we move on, how about we give a shout out to Truck and Tap?
Sounds like a good idea. So lately I've been talking about the lighter, easier drinking beers that would be ideal for sipping on the patio at your local Truck and Tap, just watching the world go by. This week I'm heading into the bar. I'm on the hunt for big beers with big flavor. it's been that kind of week. So this is kind of where I'm at mentally. Here are my Truck and Tap beer picks for the week. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going for Creature Comforts Creature 11 XI. So it's Roman numerals. DDH Cosmic Debris IPA. This is Creature Comfort's 11th anniversary double IPA. And as the name implies, it's a double dry hopped variation on their popular Cosmic Debris, which was their first double IPA that they ever released. It was, I think, 10 years ago. So the 11th anniversary was like a year after they started. In terms of flavor, you can expect big citrus, melon, pine, and starfruit notes. I don't actually know what starfruit tastes like. I believe I've had this beer, but it does sound like one you can't miss because it's an anniversary beer. And as I recall, this beer was good. I believe it was also pouring at the festival we were at last weekend, and I don't remember if I had it there or not. But I have recollections of liking this one way or the other. Anyway, at the Duluth location, I'm getting Delirium Nocturnum, which is a Belgian strong dark ale. It's been quite a while since I've had this one. I don't see it around very often, and I'm ready for it this week. The tap list says that we're in for layers of malt and yeast-driven dark fruit notes, and I say sign me up. At Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is North Coast Old Rasputin on Nitro. This classic imperial stout won't be shy about delivering dark chocolate and espresso notes, and it's going to do that with that silky mouthfeel from Nitro, so that's going to be delicious. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Monday Night's Darker Subject Matter. I've had this beer a few times over the years, and I've always really enjoyed it. It's a bourbon barrel-aged stout that's roasty and toasty and boozy, and honestly, what's not to love about that? It'll be great when it's, I don't think it's 90 degrees out there. We're still high 70s, low 80s, so I think you won't be sweating too much after you drink that one. Maybe I'm wrong. But maybe you're still in the mood for crushable beers on the patio. There's no problem at all with that. Each Truck and Tap location has 20 taps to choose from, and you'll find no shortage of easy drinking, light crushable options. Or maybe you just want to grab a table in the corner and glare at people while you drink whiskey. Hey, that is fine too. Each location has a full bar, and they've got a lot of whiskey options, so you'll find one that'll work for you. And of course, there's wine and cocktails, and some locations even have cold brew coffee on tap. Whoever's going to drive you home after drinking all that whiskey is probably going to need that cold brew, so that'll work out for them. Whatever you're looking for, Truck and Tap has you covered. For more details, check out truckandtap.com. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thanks, Truck and Tap. You guys are the best. We appreciate you very much. So, Brian, next up, this is a story you follow. I think you got a little personal connection to this since it's up in your neck of the woods or former neck of the woods there, but Washington State is playing funny with beer taxes. What is up there? What's the latest there?
Yeah, it's been interesting. The Northwest has been the source of a lot of oddball, ridiculous beer tax news. I've been watching Oregon closely because I am originally from Oregon, but I spent some time in Washington. So lawmakers in Washington State have proposed a 100% increase to the excise tax on breweries in Washington State. According to the Washington Brewers Guild, this tax hike is meant to address the state's budgetary shortfall. However, they say that the actual money that they gain from this tax will have a very minimal impact on the $13 billion that is the shortfall. They're not going to get it from beer, but it will devastate craft breweries in the state. Breweries are already operating on slim margins these days, and they will also have to deal with the increased costs caused by tariffs that are coming along. So they got to contend with all the steel tariffs for the brew house stuff and the aluminum tariffs for all the canned stuff. So if passed, the new tax would effectively be an additional 2% sales tax on every single beer sold. So whatever the sales tax is currently, just add 2% to it. So that makes everything more expensive. The proposed tax would also make Washington the 9th highest in beer excise tax in the nation, significantly higher than neighboring states like Oregon and Idaho. So that will make it harder for them to compete against the beers that they can get from other states. So yeah, that's I don't know what they're thinking with this. I'm like, do you guys hate beer up there? Because you used to love beer in the Northwest.
If you haven't been paying attention lately, thinking is not very popular in American politics. So that's just what I'm saying.
That's, you know,
yeah, it's not very in vogue these days, bro.
You might be onto something with that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not very trendy.
On that note, Brian, we've talked way too much about the beer tariffs, but we want to make sure to let folks know what's going on and how it is going to impact our beer. So, Brian, you've got what you're calling a clarification on the tariffs, but I'm not sure that word and tariffs really go together.
Yeah, I'm going to maybe make things even muddier, but according to Mexico News Daily, which is where I found this, and I've been looking for new news about the tariffs because it's weird. There's a lot of rehashing of old stuff, but there has been some confusion, surprise, surprise, about how exactly tariffs will affect imported beer. Some sources that we've read and talked about on the show have said that beer in any form would be subject to tariffs, regardless of how it's packaged. This week, we've learned that is not the case, at least not for beers coming across the southern border. Mexican beer can be shipped tariff-free to the United States, provided it complies with the rules of the USMCA Free Trade Pact. And importantly, that beer would not be, packaged in aluminum cans. So no tariffs would apply to that. Aluminum cans themselves will be subject to the 25% tariff. According to the Commerce Department, which was quoted in the article, they say tariffs on imported beer only apply to the value of the aluminum content in the beer can and not to the beer itself. So the actual, when you are getting this beer, it's coming across, the tariff applied to it, only the value of the can, not the total value of the beer. So the actual increase in price is likely to be a lot lower than people were expecting because it's not the entire package. It's only that little bit that makes up the can. So I don't know what that's even going to wind up meaning, but this may be, time for people to start looking into importing, glass bottles again.
And does it just apply to coming from Mexico or Mexico and Canada? Does it apply to beer coming from everywhere? What's the actual impact of this?
Unless it's specifically on the beer itself, if any place that's affected by just the aluminum tariff and not a specific beverage related tariff, my understanding is this would hold true for the others, but there's just no way to chase all this down. I think this means, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think this means the stuff coming in from Europe, like Belgium, if they're bringing, importing this in.
This stuff's so damn confusing anyhow, Brian. I would like to be real cautious on saying I imagine or I think, because it's a mess out there. And what I had heard earlier made it sound like this was a worldwide thing, that it only applied to the cans. But it sounds like this article is saying Mexico, but we don't have the other information. And I'm not trying to minimize a tariff, but what's the value of a can there? I mean, what are we talking about when we say 25%? On the aluminum content of the cans there, a nickel. So
that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's low. It's really low because seriously, aluminum is a very small percentage of what's there. I don't actually know that wasn't. I should have looked into that. That was not mentioned in the article, but I'm curious as to what the actual amount is because the amount of aluminum, the value of that, like any place that does they give you the deposit for cans where you bring it back in, they give you a nickel. We're seriously looking at probably 5 to 10 cents a can, maybe, and then there would be a 25% tariff on that. So I'm thinking that maybe this ends up being a couple of cents per beer is what you'd wind up paying in tariff.
Which no one even wants a little bit more.
Nobody wants
their beer even a nickel more expensive. But but if this doesn't apply, of course, this is going to mean something to big beer. Because we've got a lot of Mexican imports coming in here that are popular with the masses. But if, depending on how it hits Belgian or German beer, I think that's going to be more important to the pockets of your craftier beer consumers there.
I suspect without any verification that we're going to find a similar thing happens with the beers from Belgium and whatnot. If it's in a can, it's going to be hit with a tariff, but it would be a tariff on the price of the aluminum, unless they have specifically set out tariffs to affect alcoholic beverage across the board. And I'm not 100% sure about what the status of that is for Europe. So I get what you're saying. We need to be careful with that. I can't guarantee that with that, but I'm hoping that this is what we're seeing with Mexico. I'm hoping that is what we're going to be seeing with these other places too.
It would be one nice little piece, since the other things are getting rumored tariffs of up to 245%, depending on where they're coming from.
Yes.
We'll take any little relief that we can get, but definitely, Brian, these are hard to report on because it changes sometimes multiple times a day. Seriously, trying to keep up with this stuff. So
I think don't we have another scheduled time for it to be reevaluated? It's been pushed back.
I honestly have no idea at this point. I really don't. I keep seeing news saying, one thing I saw just recently is a quote from the president that was, or a statement, I don't want to say quote, but a statement that the tariffs on China would get lower, but they're not going to go away. And what that means is really anybody's guess there. So
true.
We'll just have to keep riding the lightning, man.
Again, not financial advice here. We're just reporting what we see.
This is just what we're reporting here. We don't even know. We don't have any idea what's going on. But to move to the other side of the world, there across the pond, as they say, it's not just American craft beer that's struggling right now. We've heard that German beer is also not doing that well.
Yeah, just saw this week. According to the German Federal Statistics Office, German beer exports in 2024 have decreased 6% when you compare them with 2014, so 10 years prior. So they're down 6% over the course of 10 years. Domestic beer consumption in Germany has also fallen, and by even larger numbers than the exports, 15.1% down over that same 10-year period. Exports now account for 17.6% of German beer sales. That's a 1.5% increase from 2014. The Federal Statistics Office did not provide any specific reasons for the decline, but I think the assumption and the inference here is it's connected to a decrease in alcohol consumption overall, which is a trend that's, I guess, beyond just the U.S., and a rise in non-alcoholic beverage sales. So I would assume that non-alcoholic beer would figure into that, but somehow that's getting lumped in with this. But the number of breweries in Germany has actually increased over the past decade, in that same time period. So it's up about exactly 100, from 1,359 in 2014 to 1,459 as of 2024. Despite the overall increase, the number of breweries is actually down from a peak that they hit in 2019. That was 1522 in terms of breweries, which is interesting. We think about all the beer that they make, but we've got like 9,000. I don't remember what our number is, but we're 9,000 plus. They're 1,500, just under 1,500 breweries. So yeah, I guess it's just a matter of being a smaller, geographically speaking, just a smaller country. Additionally, I just want to mention that the name of the German Federal Statistics Office is the status, as in what is the status of the beer market in Germany. And I find that highly amusing. So there's that. Yeah.
Brian, that is very amusing.
Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that, man.
It's adorable.
I am amused now. I am amused. Yes. Oh man, beer hurting everywhere. Crazy stuff, Brian. Crazy stuff. Well, speaking of crazy, we've talked about that people are doing a little more on-premise drinking now, that's kind of a popular thing. But here's something you may not know. There is a new hotspot for drinking.
Yes, according to what I'm hearing. So yeah, the industry and travel is trending right now with Americans. I think it's just getting warmer. It's getting in that season where people going out and doing things. And when they hit the road, they are apparently looking for premium experiences. The interesting result of this is that hotel bars are apparently booming right now, at least according to a hotel beverage opportunity study from CGA by NIQ. That they do surveys like this. They found that U.S. visitation to hotel bars jumped 3% over the last year and 5% over the last 2 years. So people are looking into that hotel bar. Also, hotel bar patrons spend about $100 more a month on average than your typical on-premise drinker. So hotel people are spending a lot more money than your average, guy going to the bar. 2/3 of hotel bar patrons are willing to pay more for better drinks. So they are interested in, premium options. They want those. And hotel guests are more likely to splurge on quote unquote luxury drinks. I'm not sure what that means. That could be really spendy champagne. It could be really exclusive beers. I don't know. During their stay, consumers at hotel bars are more exploratory, I guess, trying to drink more categories and brands and like different styles of beers than your typical drinkers, which makes sense when you think about it. They're in a new place. They're having a good time. They want to try new things, interesting stuff. They want to have a good experience. They want to make memories, that sort of thing. So discovery, variety, and style are priorities here with them. And if you're looking to appeal to younger drinkers, your hotel bar needs to focus on the 3 F's, which is flavor, format, and fun. They're looking for adventure and memorable experiences. So experience is a big thing. And I've always liked that about traveling. And I don't know if this is a holdover from me being younger and it wasn't hip and I didn't know it, but I always thought the hotel bar, when it wasn't open late and wasn't interesting, it was a disappointment. I thought it was great. If you're staying someplace, you should be able to go down and have a couple of drinks before you call it a night after you've done all your things around. And I've been so many places where the hotel bar is a disappointment. I'm like, what is wrong with you? This is such easy money. Why are you not taking it from me? But yeah.
Yeah. And everything they're saying here, I mean, it all makes sense to me. People staying in a motel, they are hotel, excuse me. People staying in a hotel, they're probably, most people are there either work or vacation. Duh.
Oh yeah.
I mean, probably one of those two. And if you're there on vacation, you're loosening up, man. You don't have to drive anywhere. You're staying at the hotel. You're good to go,
Oh, heck yeah.
If you're working, you're probably at a convention or you're at a work conference or something and you're working all day. And man, nothing greater than having you a couple cocktails before you hit the sack, when you wrap everything up for the day. So it definitely, is something that, all that checks out to me. Now, have you guys ever back up? When I lived in Arkansas, there was not a heck of a lot in the town there. So the hotel bars were some of the quote unquote, I use this term very loosely, better bars to go to in town. So we ended up at the hotel bars just because, I had to think about it a second. Every other bar was pretty rough, So you'd go to the hotel bar because it was fairly decent and they did make cocktails outside of just, whiskey and Coke or something like that. But, have you ever hotel barred, Brian, when you weren't traveling somewhere?
You know what? I don't think that I ever have.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Maybe one time there may have been like an event that was held by a hotel bar. I want to say that happened one time here in Georgia for some special event, but no, typically not. But I really look forward to them, and I'm always disappointed when they're not. And I've got to say, you corrected yourself and said hotel instead of motel. I would definitely go to a motel bar too if they had one. I would like to see what that's like. I've never seen one, but
that's if you're looking for adventure, Brian, that sounds like the place to find it.
Heck yeah, that's an experience right there.
Yeah.
I have been to a motel bar. Yeah. I can confirm it is quite the adventure.
Yeah.
I stayed years ago. I stayed at this motel off of MLK Drive in downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Nate's choking death. We'll have to give him a minute. He'll be back with us momentarily.
Anyways, I went out on the town with some buddies, and then coming back, there was an open door to this building that was kind of attached to the motel. And we said, whatever, let's go check this out. And it turned out to be a bar, and it was the diviest, grimiest thing ever. And it was incredible.
Yeah, some of those are not bad, man. Like in my younger days, Memphis was one of the towns we hung out in. It was one of the closer places to do things. And you go down Beale Street, and Beale Street's quite a mix of places there. And I'm talking ancient history here of seriously like 25, 30 years ago. So I don't know how it is now. But actually, I kind of know. I have friends that still live there, and they said Memphis is pretty rough. It's a pretty rough place. But you could go by B.B. King's place, which is a nice blues bar, really nice place. And then you go by a place that looked like it would probably been condemned for a few years, and like the dance floor was like partially dirt outside, and there was a 140-year-old dude playing piano and singing songs you couldn't understand. But just the energy in there was great. It was absolutely a death trap, but it was great there, So I've definitely been to places like that.
I like Beale Street. I was there many years ago, and I don't even remember why. And because as a younger man, I would just wander around the city. So I walked around and not necessarily just down on Beale Street, and later found out, I'm like, oh, I really shouldn't have been doing that. That was not the safest thing to do. It's been a while. I've been to BB King's though, and I thought that entire area was fun. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I like this. And found out later, it's like, oh yeah, it was dangerous, and I could have died that night. Like, oh well, at least I survived. That's
Memphis is a little rough. It is. Yeah. And it was rough then, and I've heard it still is, if not more rougher these days. But when I was hanging out there, our go-to place, I think it was called Players, but it was a pool hall bar. And it was the attendants there wore white shirts, bow ties, that kind of joint. I remember they had antique Brunswick pool tables there that they said the tables they had were worth about $30,000 a piece. And if anybody knows billiards, there's a popular brand of pool cue maker called Mucci, and you could rent a Mucci pool stick there to shoot, which is a very nice pool cue. So it was a nice, with all the grunge and all that on Beale Street, we'd hit the blues clubs that were seedy and that, but end up there, and it was just kind of a nice place to hang out. But as rough as Memphis was, I had a lot of good times there.
Beale Street seemed like it was fun. I think I would enjoy that. I'm not sure about the rest of the place. I was there. I swear it was for like a weekend or something like that. And I don't even remember why, but it was memorable. I'll just say that.
Did you go to the Pyramid, Brian?
I don't think so. No, I think it was it's been a long time, but I don't know what the Pyramid is or how old it was, but
when I was over there, and I'm guessing this would have probably been early 90s, they built this. It's a pyramid in Memphis, because I don't know if you know this, but Memphis is a sister city to Memphis. I believe it's Memphis in Egypt.
So there is a Memphis,
sister
Egypt.
city. Yeah. So they built a pyramid there. When they first built it, it was like a convention center in that. And I saw Van Halen there on tour one time. But then I think it became maybe a sports arena, and then a Bass Pro Shops or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Awesome. I think it may be a Bass Pro Shops now, but when it first opened, it was like a, concert hall, entertainment venue.
I have been to the Bass Pro Shop.
Okay. Yeah. How about that, man? In a pyramid,
I would go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
Had I known, I would have gone and checked that out. But it was. I couldn't speak to what the heck I had going on. I think I just had one night to go out and drink in the sights, and the Beale Street was fun. So
did you get barbecue over there? Because that is another thing that's
I got beer, I got barbecue. Yeah, I hung out, heard music, and like, this is fun. This is great. I love this. So yeah.
Walking in Memphis.
That's right. With my feet, what is it? 10
feet off a Beale.
10 feet off a Beale. Yeah.
Did you really feel the way you felt, Brian?
I definitely felt the way I felt.
And I imagine at least 80% of the people listening to this right now have no idea what we're talking about.
But every time Memphis comes up, I think about Beale Street, and then I think about the song. So yes.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, y'all, that is about all that we have for you this week. We appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. If you enjoy what we're doing, tell a friend. Tell them to tune in. We'd appreciate it. If you really dig what we're doing, then go to patreon.com/beerguys. We'd love your support there. We'll get you some swag. We'll get you in the Discord server to hang out with us. And you can join us for the after party after the show tapes each week. But with that said, we hope that you all have a really, really good week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.